Hello, everyone. Today we will continue to look at the content of HCI-Storage. Previously, we have introduced the front-end and back-end interfaces. There is one more type of interface, which is quite special. We call it the scale-out interface. First, everyone can take a look at the image here. These two types are based on different speeds. You can also see 4 25 GB ports and 2 100 GB ports, which align with the pattern we summarized earlier, right? The faster the speed, the fewer the ports. As for the speed here, there's no need to say much about these two, right? Just choose, according to your actual needs. Here, we mainly introduce what? Mainly, we introduce our new... The main function of the scale-out interface, as well as the primary application of our RDMA interface module here. First, 4 ports, 4 optical ports. Here we have 4 optical ports. Each port is 25 Gbps, so 4 of them together total 100 Gbps. The one on the right is slightly faster with 2 ports, each at 100 Gbps. This is its size issue, and as for the others, their basic function. To put it simply, it's just our 4 ports are equivalent to 4 high-speed channels, allowing our control box to transmit data and instructions more quickly. Here, for example, let's assume we are in a large internet company. There are multiple control boxes, each responsible for different types of data processing, like a user data control box, or a business transaction data control box, etc. Now, between these control boxes, they actually need to interact with each other. For example, when a user is making a transaction, right? Our user data control box needs to coordinate with the business transaction control box, right? To perform data verification and data updates. In this case, we have the RDMA interface module, relying on our 4 high-speed optical ports, ensures that the data transmission speed between our control boxes is fast and stable, without any lag in transmission, ensuring the overall smooth operation. The subsequent 100 Gbps RDMA interface module is faster, but it only has 2 optical ports left. Well, the speed is indeed faster than the former, definitely faster than the previous one. The main purpose here. The role of our 100 Gbps RDMA interface module in the storage system is actually more critical. It is mainly used for connecting the control enclosure and scale-out switches, or the connection between the control enclosure and the intelligent hard drive enclosure. Continuing with the storage system, let's take a factory as an example. The scale-out switch is actually equivalent to a logistics hub in our factory, mainly responsible for the exchange of incoming logistics. It is responsible for coordinating and transmitting materials between various workshops. That is data. Our intelligent hard drive enclosure is like a large warehouse in the factory, storing massive amounts of data. The 100 GB RDMA interface module, with these 2 high-speed gateways, connects to the command center of our workshop, serving as a transmission link between important components such as the logistics hub and the large warehouse. It can transmit large amounts of data at extremely high speeds. For example, in a large enterprise's data center, every day we have a vast amount of business data that needs to be stored in the intelligent hard drive. And at the same time, a lot of data is retrieved from the intelligent hard drive enclosure for use by business systems. When our enterprise employees conduct large-scale data queries or batch data entries, the control enclosure needs to frequently interact with the intelligent hard drive enclosure for data exchange. Then 100 GB. The RDMA interface module with our 2 100 Gbps ports can actually quickly transmit this data to ensure efficient processing of our business operations. Additionally, when the control enclosure needs to work in coordination with the switch, generally, when distributing or aggregating auto-scheduled data, our 100 GB RDMA module can also ensure smooth data transmission between them, thanks to its high-speed transmission capability. Here, although the 2 modules have different functional focuses, overall, they are both important components of the scale-out interface in our storage system. They can indeed cooperate with each other to provide strong support for the expansion and efficient operation of our storage system. The 25 GB RDMA interface module, it mainly ensures a fast connection between our control enclosures, while the 100 GB interface is used to establish a high-speed channel between the control enclosures and key components, such as switches and disk enclosures, providing us with data transmission. These are our two types of interfaces, both of which belong to the scale-out interfaces. You must distinguish these from the two types of front-end interfaces mentioned earlier. The back-end interfaces must be clearly differentiated, so please pay attention to this. As for scale-out, to put it simply, this type of interface mainly focuses on horizontal scaling architecture. Horizontal scaling architecture generally uses nodes as units. Otherwise, by expanding more controllers, it meets our storage needs. Horizontal means horizontal scaling. It belongs to horizontal scaling. Of course, we will cover the specific content in the next lesson. A comparison? Tayo. Later on, we will compare the two different scaling architectures, scale up and scale out. We will discuss this in detail in the next lesson. Here, these two interfaces are part of the scale out type, representing two different interfaces. Scale out is essentially a method of horizontal scaling. The horizontal scaling method ensures that our storage system has sufficient space, Imo. If the space is insufficient, what do we need? We need to expand using two methods. It can be horizontal scaling or vertical scaling. Horizontal scaling. Simply put, it is actually just node-based, expanding more controllers to meet the demand. Vertical scaling, on the other hand, is actually using the existing storage system by continuously adding more storage, continuously adding storage devices to meet the demand. These two methods actually have some differences, which we will specifically introduce in the next lesson. Here we have two types of scale-out, horizontal scaling interfaces, which involve the issue of subsequent expansion. With the exponential growth of our data volume, the systemic requirements for our storage systems will also become increasingly demanding. Our scale-out interface is actually very important because it mainly handles what? It addresses the issue of subsequent expansion, like what to do if you run out of space. What to do if you run out of space. When we previously talked about the history of storage development, we mentioned this, right? As for expansion, if you have a standalone physical machine, your expansion capability is quite limited, right? Because the slots for your disks are limited. Once all the slots are filled, there's actually no more space, right? So here, actually, if you switch to something like distributed storage, virtualized storage, or cloud storage, the expansion becomes relatively easier because they are not. They are not a single person, nor a single device. Instead, they consist of multiple devices working together to form a storage cluster. Each device is responsible for different content, and ultimately, we store everything together. Sure. This setup is responsible for storing a large amount of data. Sure. In this situation, because including in the future as data, right? In this era of data explosion, as the data volume increases, whether you are a small website or a small app, as long as there are visitors, gradually, the data within will also increase. This is normal, therefore data expansion is actually very necessary, and what is needed. It requires considering this issue in advance. Everyone must pay attention. This expansion is not something you do when it's full, because sometimes it might be too late. This must be considered in advance, anticipated in advance. When it's almost full, you should quickly perform some manual expansion to prevent issues. So, if it becomes completely full, it might cause your service to malfunction and not operate normally. This is an aspect of our expansion module. The main function, later on, we will use a lesson to explain to everyone the main differences between our horizontal expansion and vertical expansion, that is, how we expand our storage. Alright, if anyone wants to learn Huawei cognitive technology or wants to obtain the Washington question bank, please send a private message. You can also leave a comment below the video for technical exchanges. That's it for today. Goodbye, everyone.